Hello everyone, I'm Sneha, DLN Botany. The topic for the video is nucleic acids. So nucleic acids are naturally occurring chemical components that are present in all living organisms. They have major functions in living organisms and are of utmost importance. They are the main information carrying molecules of the cell. And by directing protein synthesis, they determine the inherited characteristics of every living being. And when broken down, nucleic acids usually yield to phosphoric acids, sugar, and a mixture of organic bases, which can either be purines or pyrimidines. So, nucleic acids were first isolated from the nuclei of pus cells by Friedrich Miescher in 1869. So, he called them as nuclein. And as nuclein was showing acidic properties, later it became nucleic acids. Nucleic acids are polymers that consist of nucleotide residues, meaning that they are made up of multiple components, multiple nucleotide units, and hence they can also be called as polynucleotides. So, multiple nucleotide units form a nucleic acid chain. Nucleic acids are located in the nuclei of the cells. They are hereditary determinants of all the living organisms. When it comes to the elemental compositions, they consist of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus. So there are two kinds of nucleic acids, which is deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid, which can be otherwise usually called as DNA and RNA. So both types of nucleic acids are present in all plants and animals. So DNA or deoxyribonucleic acid is mainly found in the chromatin of the cell nucleus, whereas most of the RNA, almost 90% of it, is present in the cell cytoplasm, and a little or 10% is present in the nucleolus. So DNA is mainly found in the chromatin of the cell nucleus, whereas RNA is mostly found in the cell cytoplasm with little or 10% in the nucleolus. In addition, extranuclear DNA also exists and is present in the form inside the mitochondria and chloroplasts. The types of nucleic acids, we have seen that there are two types. One is deoxyribonucleic acid, the other is ribonucleic acid. So we'll see the structure of deoxyribonucleic acid and ribonucleic acid along with their functions. So distribution of nucleic acids in the eukaryotic cell. So DNA is found in the nucleus with small amount in mitochondria and chloroplast, and RNA is found throughout the cell. So nucleic acid structure. So we said that nucleic acids are polymers and they are made up of multiple nucleotide units, hence called as polynucleotides. So the building blocks of nucleic acids are nucleotides. So nucleotides, other than being the genetic component of organisms, also have other major functions. So they are energy-rich compounds that drive the metabolic processes in the cell. For example, we can say ATP and GTP. So ATP and GTP, when broken down, give rise to high energy. So this energy is used to drive the metabolic processes in the cell. That is the first one. The second one is that they serve as chemical signals. So cell signaling is also an important topic is also an important topic. And these nucleotides, they serve as key link in cellular systems that respond to hormones and other extracellular stimuli. They also act as structural components for number of enzyme cofactors and metabolic intermediates. So each nucleotide is formed by 3 units, a phosphate, sugar, and a nitrogen base. So here we have the structure of nucleotide, which is phosphate, and the sugar can either be ribose sugar or deoxyribose sugar. In case of RNA, we have ribose sugar. In case of DNA, we have deoxyribose sugar. organic base, or a base can be either purines or pyrimidines. So purines are adenine and guanine, and pyrimidines can be cytosine, thymine, and uracil. So phosphoric acid. So the molecular formula of phosphoric acid is H3PO4. It contains 3 monovalent hydroxyl group and 1 oxygen atom. And all these are linked to a pentavalent phosphorus atom. Sugars. Sugars are 5 carbon ketose sugar or pentose. Here in the diagram we can see that there is C1 to C5. There are total 5 carbon atoms that are present here, and both sugars are present in furanose form and beta configuration. So you can see that deoxyribose sugar, there is a hydrogen present instead of hydroxyl group at a C2 position. Whereas in ribose sugar, you can see that there is hydroxyl group present in C2 position. So these pentose sugars form esters with the phosphoric acid and is called as phosphodiester bond. So usually these sugars form phosphodiester bonds with the phosphoric acid, and so ribose and deoxyribose sugar. So here you can see that ribose sugar has an OH or hydroxyl group that is present at a C2 position, and deoxyribose has a hydrogen instead of a OH or a hydroxyl group. So nitrogenous bases. So nitrogenous bases are of two types. One is purine and the other is pyrimidine derivatives. So this base is linked to the sugar moiety by the same carbon used in the sugar-sugar bond, which is at the C1 position. So the purines are adenine and guanine, and the pyrimidine derivatives are uracil, thymine, and cytosine. Nucleosides. So when the sugar is combined with a base, we call it as nucleoside. So when either ribose or deoxyribose sugar is combined with either a purine or a pyrimidine base, we call it as a nucleoside. Whereas nucleotide is a sugar along with a nitrogen base and also the phosphate group. So nucleotide has 3 components. The first one is sugar attached plus nitrogen base plus a phosphate group. So here you can see the difference between nucleoside and a nucleotide. So the pentose sugar along with a nitrogenous base is called as nucleoside, and pentose sugar along with nitrogenous base and also the phosphate group is called as nucleotide. So this 3 component nucleotide is the building block of nucleic acids. So these nucleotides bind to each other in a form of a chain and then form the nucleic acids. The sugar phosphate backbone. So all the nucleotides are oriented in the same direction, and the phosphate group joins the 3rd carbon of one sugar and the 5th carbon of the next in line, next sugar. So basically the 3rd carbon of one sugar and the 5th carbon of the next sugar along with the phosphate form a phosphodiester bond. So which is also called as a sugar phosphate backbone of the DNA or RNA. Adding enough bases. So we have seen that we have a sugar and then we have phosphate which are linked by phosphodiester bonds. So this forms the nucleosides, and then there is addition of the nitrogenous bases at the C1 position. So the bases are attached to the first carbon, and their order is important as it determines the genetic information of the molecule. So the order of the nitrogenous bases is what determines what function the proteins perform. So the order of the nitrogenous bases determines what RNA is formed, what determines the sequence of mRNA, and later the sequence of polypeptide and protein synthesis. So deoxyribonucleic acid. So every living organism contains DNA as a material of inheritance. So it was discovered in 1960 by Franklin, Watson and Crick. So through series of experiments, they concluded that DNA is a genetic material that is present in the nucleus of the cells. So, sorry, human DNA consists of 3 million DNA residues and contains 25,000 genes. So genes are a stretch of DNA that carries the codes for protein production. So DNA is basically made up of two strands of polynucleotides. So we have seen that we can already see here that there is a sugar, phosphate, and nitrogenous bases that are present. Two sugars along with the phosphate form the phosphodiester bonds, and there is nitrogen base present at the C1 position. So here there is an other strand of polynucleotide, and both of them bind together by the support of the nitrogenous bases. So these two bases are usually bound by hydrogen bonds. So hydrogen bonds are relatively weak bonds, and therefore they can be broken down and also be combined together easily for the convenience of the cellular processes that are happening. So DNA is made up of two strands of polynucleotide. So the sister strands of the DNA molecule run in anti-parallel directions. So they are joined by the nitrogenous bases. So each base is paired in a specific manner. A is always paired with T. Adenine is always paired with thymine, and guanine is always paired with cytosine. That is, each purine is paired with the pyrimidine. Thus, the sister strands are complementary but not identical. This is an important point, that the sister strands are always complementary but never identical. So the bases are joined by hydrogen bonds. So purines and pyrimidines under purine. And here we can see the Watson and Crick base pairing, where there is hydrogen bonds present. And also one more point is that adenine and thymine are always bound by two hydrogen bonds, whereas guanine and cytosine are bound by three hydrogen bonds. Here we can see that there is a sugar moiety present, and there is a phosphate attached at 5 prime, and then you have nitrogenous bases. So here thymine is binding to adenine with the help of two hydrogen bonds, whereas guanine is binding with cytosine with the help of three hydrogen bonds. So this is the picture of Watson and Crick with their first proposed model of double helical DNA. So structure of DNA. The structure of DNA can be understood in the terms of three levels of structure. The first one is primary structure, which refers to the sequence of the nucleotide residues. And the second structure, it pertains to the helix formed by the DNA strands. So the primary structure is a simple structure where there is a sequence of nucleotides residues forming the nucleic acids. The secondary structure is the helix formed by the two DNA strands. When the two DNA strands are bound together, they form a helical structure. So that helical structure comes under the secondary structure. Tertiary structure determines the three-dimensional shape. It arises from the supercoiling, where double helix is twisted into a compact shape. So when the double helix, when it is not twisted, is present in a very loose manner, and in order to fit into the cell, it is being twisted and compacted and forming a compact shape in form of a chromosome. So that final structure is called as a tertiary structure. So replication. So DNA carries all the information necessary for making proteins required by all living organisms. Therefore, this DNA has to be conserved and has to be passed down to next generation. So every time the cell divides, the DNA replicates. So the DNA replication is a form of storage of DNA and making sure that all this DNA is passed on to the next generation after each cell division. So to pass the information stored in DNA to the next generation of cell, DNA replication must take place. So this information is carried in the primary structure of the DNA, in which the order of the nucleotide residues plays an important role in determining the proteins that have to be synthesized. So to pass the information stored in the DNA into a new generation of cells, DNA replication must take place. So when the DNA is replicated, each strand of the double helix serves as a template for the manufacture of the new strand of DNA. So when DNA is replicated, each strand of the double helix acts as a template for the manufacture of new strand of DNA. So in the daughter DNA, one strand of parent DNA and one new strand of DNA is present. So we'll see a process here which is called as semi-conservative replication. So DNA replication occurs by a process which is semi-conservative. So the production of new DNA is carried by enzymes called as DNA polymerases. So DNA polymerase catalyzes the addition of deoxyribonucleotide residues due to a growing DNA strand. So we'll see a rough diagram of semi-conservative replication here. So here in the first step, we can see that there is a double helix which is bound together. And so the parent molecule has two complementary strands of DNA, and each base is paired by hydrogen bonding with its specific partner, which is adenine is paired with thymine and guanine is paired with cytosine with the help of hydrogen bonds. So as the hydrogen bonds are weak, they can be usually broken down and there is unwinding of DNA that is happening. So the first step in replication is the separation of two DNA strands. And later, each parental strand now has a template that determines the order of nucleotides along a new complementary strand. So after the separation of two DNA strands, each parent strand acts as a template for the formation of new DNA strand. And here there are different DNA polymerases which will come and bind to the template strand and produce the new DNA strand. And later, finally, the result that we have is that the nucleotides are connected in the form of sugar phosphate backbones of the new daughter strands. So each daughter molecule consists of one parental strand and one new strand. That was about DNA, and we'll come to the structure of RNA. So RNA, like DNA, is a long unbranched macromolecule, consists of nucleotides joined by 3' to 5' phosphodiester bonds. So the number of ribonucleotides in RNA ranges from a few as 75 to many thousands. So structure of RNA. So the RNA structure is similar to the DNA. So both are sugar phosphate polymers and both have nitrogen containing bases attached, but there are differences between them. So the main difference is that RNA consists of ribonucleic acid instead of deoxyribonucleic acid. And RNA contains the bases adenine, guanine, cytosine, and uracil instead of adenine, guanine, cytosine, and thymine. So in place of thymine, RNA usually consists of uracil. So and also RNA exists as a single strand instead of a double strand. So RNA is a single stranded structure as opposed to the DNA, which is usually a double stranded structure. Here you can see the structure of RNA. Types and functions of RNA. So RNA is of different types and each of them have a different function in the cell which is of importance. So the first one is messenger RNA or mRNA. mRNA transfers the genetic information from the genes to the ribosomes to synthesize proteins. So this happens So this mRNA is produced by the process called as transcription, where there is production of mRNA. And the next one is heterogeneous nuclear RNA or hnRNA. hnRNA serves as a precursor for mRNA and other RNAs. Transfer RNA or tRNA. So transfers amino acids to the mRNA for the protein synthesis. Ribosomal RNA or rRNA. So rRNA provides a structural framework for ribosomes. Small nuclear RNA or snRNA. snRNA is involved in the mRNA processing. Small nucleolar RNA, snORNA, plays a key role in processing of rRNA molecules. Small cytoplasmic RNA or scRNA. So it is involved in the selection of proteins for the export. Transfer messenger RNA or tmRNA. So it is mostly present in bacteria and it adds short peptide tags to the proteins to facilitate its degradation and also synthesis. So nucleic acid and protein synthesis. So the following are the three processes that are involved in duplication, transfer, and use of the genetic information. The first one is replication. So replication is the process by which an identical copy of DNA is produced when the cell divides. So replication is essential for the transfer of DNA from one generation to the next generation. The second one is transcription. So transcription is the process by which genetic messages contained in the DNA are read and copied. So transcription helps to helps the reading of the DNA that is present into the mRNA, which is later translated. So translation is the process by which the genetic messages carried by the mRNA are decoded and used to build proteins. So translation acts as a process in which to read the mRNA, which is used to build the proteins. So here we can see the diagrammatic representation of the same, where from DNA, replication is the production of exact or identical copy of DNA. Transcription is the production of RNA or mRNA from DNA. And translation is the process where this mRNA is read and appropriately a protein is formed based on the sequence of the nucleotides that are present. Transcription. So the first step in using the information stored in the DNA to produce proteins is the transcription. That is, using the DNA as a template to produce RNA. So it is controlled by interaction of promoters and enhancers, and several different types of RNAs are produced, including mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA. It involves 4 steps, which is initiation, elongation, termination, and processing. So initiation is the identification and binding of the DNA polymerases to the DNA, and elongation is the addition and synthesis of the next upcoming mRNA sequence, and termination is ending the process. And there is also processing, where the RNA that is produced is processed and then made ready for the translation. And here you can see a diagrammatic representation of the transcription process, where there is splitting or the unwinding of DNA happens, and then there is RNA polymerase, which is binding to this specific region. And then this RNA polymerase, by its activity, moves along the template, producing the mRNA strand. Translation or protein synthesis. So the synthesis of proteins occurs at ribosomes, which are outside the nucleus and within the cytoplasm of the cells. So protein synthesis usually occurs in the cytoplasm of the cells, whereas synthesis of mRNA or transcription occurs in the nucleus of the cells. So the mRNA connects the ribosomes and the amino acids to the transfer RNA and are delivered one by one. So in the translation, two types of RNA are used. So one is mRNA and the other is tRNA. So mRNA basically acts as the template for translation, and transfer RNA helps the attachment of the amino acids to the upcoming or the newly produced polynucleotide chain. So protein synthesis or translation takes place in three steps. First one is initiation, where ribosome, mRNA and tRNA come together to form a complex. And then there is elongation, where amino acids are joined to the growing polypeptide chain. And there is termination, where the protein has been synthesized and the ribosome, mRNA and tRNA complex is dissociated. And here is a diagrammatic representation of the same. And genetic code. So the ribonucleotide sequence in the mRNA chain is a coded sentence that specifies the order in which amino acid residues should be joined to form a protein. So mRNA is complementary to the template DNA from which it has been produced. So the sequence of the ribonucleotide is very important for the production of polynucleotides. So the sequence or the order of the nucleotides in the mRNA specifies what amino acid should bind after another, which forms the polypeptide chain. For example, the series of uracil and guanine on the mRNA chain is in a codon is directing the incorporation of amino acid leucine into a growing polypeptide chain. So the DNA of each living cells contains of thousands of genes, and these genes are nothing but a specific order of nucleotides which result in the formation of specific proteins which are used for the functioning of all the living organisms. So these genes are not continually expressed because the production of unneeded proteins would be an inefficient use of resources. So these genes are only expressed when there is demand for the specific or the respective protein. And the control of gene expression prevents the manufacture of unwanted or unneeded proteins. So gene regulation. So the label for cellular processes that control the rate and manner of gene regulation. So mechanisms of gene regulation includes regulating the rate of transcription. So when there is no transcription, there is no formation of mRNA, which stops the final synthesis of proteins. And the next one is regulating the processing of the RNA molecules. The third one is regulating the stability of the mRNA molecules. And the fourth one is regulating the rate of translation. So all these act as gene regulating mechanisms, so that only the genes that produce required proteins are being expressed, and not all of them are expressed at once. Mutations. Any permanent change in the primary structure of DNA or RNA is called as a mutation. So mutation might involve the switching of one base pair for the another, or addition or deletion of the base pairs. So mutation is a permanent change that is occurring in the primary structure of DNA. So it can either have switching of base pairs, or can be addition of an extra base pair into the structure of DNA, or it can be the deletion of the base pair. So errors in replication and exposure to mutagens like X-rays, UV radiation, nuclear radiation, and different chemicals are common cause for mutation. So when mutations occur in the sex cells, which is either sperm or ovarian cells, the mutation can be inherited, which can result in genetic disorders. Recombinant DNA. Recombinant DNA contains two or more DNA segments not found together in nature. So recombinant DNA is a synthetic DNA which is produced under laboratory conditions, where we join two or more segments of the DNA together for the purpose of for the purpose of biotechnology and human requirements. So it is made by cutting a gene out of one organism and combining it into the genetic machinery of the other organism. The proteins encoded by this inserted gene is then synthesized by the target organism. Insulin has been made in this way, and this is also the basic mechanism for the all the recombinant vaccines that are being produced today. Thank you. This was the nucleic acids, their basic functioning and structure.